The Honda Civic has been a small car stable for over 4 decades, but Danny, lately it's had a couple of lean years.
That's right, Steve. Honda is holding high hopes for this all-new Civic, but will it bring it back to its former glory days? So Steve, Honda is calling this its bold new Civic, and you know, for starters, the outside does look sportier and edgier. What do you think of the inside?
Yeah, look, it's definitely a bolder new look. I'm not sure if it's to everyone's taste. Personally, I think, you know, both the inside and the exterior are, you know, a little busy. They've got that, very much got that sort of Japanese high-tech kind of vibe to it that I guess a lot of recent Hondas have had.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you. I mean, I don't mind the seating. I think it's roomy, but you know, the navigation and some of the tech, it's a little bit convoluted for me. Great if you're a tech lover, but it did take a bit of getting used to.
Yeah, but look, speaking of tech, like you say, there is a lot of it in here. We're driving the top of the line VTI LX model, and it is loaded with gear, isn't it?
Oh yeah, look, that is really impressive. Some of the features here were pretty handy, I have to admit, especially in peak hour traffic.
Yeah, one of the cool features that I really like is this indicator. When you indicate to the left, it actually brings up a little camera on the left-hand side of the car to just give it a little bit of extra backup on the mirror, which is
it's called like the clever lane system, and you don't even have to indicate. You can even just press a button on that stalk there and it'll come up. It's just a really good handy feature to have, and that's not the only thing. Even on your driver's side, a moped came up this morning a bit close, and you know, I got a warning. So the visuals and the sounds are, I have to say, are top notch.
It's got adaptive cruise control, it's got lane departure warning, it's got emergency braking. You know, they really have chucked a lot of stuff at this car, which is pretty good, given it only costs, you know, just over $33,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty amazing. If you want to get entry level, that's even more impressive. It's $22,000 or just under $22,500. But you know, this car that we're looking at here has all the bells and whistles, and it's still a really good price.
Now, of course, the other thing they've really changed with this car is how it is the actual driving experience. You know, it's a big departure. But before we go into that, I guess I should give you a turn.
Yep, that's a good idea.
So it's like I was saying, it's a big departure from old Civics, because unlike the previous models that have always had naturally aspirated engines that traditionally liked a bit of a rev, for this new model, Honda's given it a new small capacity low blow turbocharger, which is, I guess, in line with a lot of its rivals. What did you actually think of it? Yeah,
it's interesting. The new turbo is the star feature. Look, it's not bad, to be honest. I wouldn't have thought it was a turbo when I was in it, but once you're driving it, I do think it's the turbo aspect that does give this car the grunt that it needs. It's got the power. The CVT transmission was a bit hit and miss, but I think the turbo is what makes this a pleasant driving experience.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, the CVT detracts a little bit from the driving experience, but having driven previous Civics, you know, there is that noticeable improvement in sort of, I guess, low rev range torque. You know, the pulling power is a little bit better off the bottom, but like you say, it's not going to, you know, knock your socks off. Overall, I think they've, you know, the chassis has been changed as well, so they've made a lot of improvements. How do you think the actual driving experience?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I first got in, the steering was almost a bit too light for me for a car, you know, this size. I mean, it's not a big car, but it did feel a bit light. But I think that was just a matter of adjusting. So once I did adjust, you know, it's quite a nice driving experience. Maybe not the best driving experience, but still a really good driving experience. And what made it for me, though, is just those added safety features, because when you're driving in peak hour traffic, you have a lot of overzealous people. That's a very polite way of saying it, but you've just got cars coming out of nowhere, and those driver aids really do help.
Definitely. You know, these modern small cars, you know, they spend a lot of time in the city, so you need that stuff. But also, these, you know, the modern small car has become, in a lot of ways, like, you know, as we're driving this LX, which has got, you know, nice leather, and so it's got all that tech that you used to expect in a much larger car. Well, it's now available in a smaller package.
And I think that will be the big selling point for this car, is that in terms of performance, I think some people will like it. I don't know whether others will, but the safety features will definitely be, I think, the carrot dangler in this car. Interestingly, economy-wise, it's supposedly about 6 litres per 100 kilometres, which is really good, but I wasn't getting anything near that. I was getting closer to the 10.
Perhaps it's a a little bit optimistic when they say it'll do, around 6 litres per 100 k's, but again, I guess you're going to expect a little bit more in the urban condition, but still, you'd have to drive with a very light right foot. So, look, at the end of the day, does this bold new Civic really have what it takes to put it back on top? For me, I'm not so sure. It's definitely an improvement over the old Civic, but it's not really necessarily the new class benchmark, because there's so many good small cars these days.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, as consumers, we're becoming really sport for choice. So I think Honda's come quite a long way with this Civic, but they still might be a bit more of a point to prove.